Okay, welcome everybody. This is 3.3 on dividing polynomials. 3.1 and 3.2, we essentially learned how to graph. This one, we're learning how to divide because we're going to add that skill to when we graph. And we're going to get into using this skill to help us graph. So chapter 3 in your books is basically all about graphing polynomials. Okay, so we're going to learn to divide polynomials, and these are the essential questions for today. How do we divide polynomials? And how can we work backwards to reconstruct the equation? All right. So when we're dividing polynomials, there are two ways to divide polynomials. The first way is long division. And it's just like how you learned it in elementary school, okay, with a little twist. So to do that, I have side by side, I'm going to do this along with that, okay? So we're going to divide 6x squared. I'll write it down here so we can work with it. Minus 26x plus 12 divided by x minus 4. And side by side, I'm going to go 1042 divided by 5. Okay, I'm going to show you how dividing polynomials is the same thing like dividing this, where we learned that in elementary school, right? So in this case, we long divide. So we're going to put the numerator inside and my denominator outside. Do the same thing here. Numerator inside 6x squared minus 26x plus 12. Denominator outside. Okay. And then what do we do? Going back to our example here, right? Our elementary school example. We go 1 goes into 5. No. 10, does 5 go into 10? Yes, right? 5 times 2 is 10, right? That's why we put a 2 on top, because 5 times 2 equals 10. Same thing here. So this in long division, the first term is your leading, is like the engine of this whole process, okay? So what times x equals 6x squared? Just like what times 5 equals 10? 2. What times x equals 6x squared? I know I need a 6. I need another x, so it's 6x. 6x times x is 6x squared, right? And then once you get that, you're going to move on. So let's go back to our elementary school example. So now what do? We go 2 times 5 equals 10, right? Equals 10. Same thing here. 6x times x minus 4. So 6x times x is 6x squared. 6x minus times negative 4 is negative 24x, right? Okay, we're good. Now we are going back to my elementary school example, we're going to subtract, right? We're going to cancel stuff out, right? We're going to subtract. I'm going to do the same thing here by subtracting, okay? So since there are multiple terms here, I'm going to just switch up the sign. Because when it's longer, okay, this skill is going to be essential to not mess up signs. When it's really big, like we can get like 5 terms if the what we're dividing by is really big. So in order for us not to get mixed up with the signs, I'm gonna distribute out the negative by going minus 6x squared plus 24x, and I'm just gonna add them together. Okay. And then once we do that, we do the whole thing, right? So going back to my elementary school example, 10 minus 10 is 0. Okay. And then we're gonna put this one down, right? 4. Same thing here, guys. So 6x squared minus 6x squared, they cancel out. That's a 0. Negative 26x plus 24x, that's a minus 2x. I want to bring this one down, plus 12. And then we ask ourselves again, how many times does 5 go into 4? Or what times 5 is 4? That can't happen, so I'm going to put a 0 here, right? Same thing here. What do I need to multiply x by to get negative 2x squared, or negative 2x? That would be a minus 2, right? Do the same thing. So 2 times negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 4, that's plus 8, right? This one, since that's a 0, going to go with 0. And we're going to subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. Bring that one down, 2. Right? And just finishes out. 5 times what equals 42? 5 times, the closest thing I can do is 8. Right? Because that's 40. And then you have a remainder of 2. Right? And when you subtract. Do the same thing here, guys. We are subtracting. Okay, we're subtracting. But instead of subtracting, I am going to add them and just erase the plus, or just scratch it off and put a minus there. So negative 2x plus 2x, they cancel out. And you're left with a 12 minus 8, which is 4. How do I know that this is the remainder? How do I know that this is the remainder? Because that was my last term. And then what do I need to multiply x by to get 4? Once you cannot think of a number or think of a monomial that you can multiply x by to get 4, you're done. That's your remainder. So I'm going to put r here just so that I know that it's a remainder. And you guys see how long division is just like the elementary school long division. Okay, so your answer here would be 6x squared minus 26x plus 12 divided by x minus 4 equals 6x minus 2, what I got up here, plus 4, my remainder, over x minus 4. Okay, you're always going to put it under what you divided by. Okay, so this would actually be my answer. All right. Okay, let's try another one here. We're going to be dividing that by that. Okay. So when we do that, what my dividend, or what I'm dividing from, right? What goes in here and what goes out here. Both terms actually, they need to be in decreasing order in standard form. That's what standard form is. So the biggest degree in the front, and then in decreasing order. And if 1 is missing, like it goes x to the fourth, x squared, you guys see how an x to the third is missing? I need a filler. Okay, that's what the green 0x cubed is. Okay, I need something to hold that place. Because when we divide, there's not going to be anything there. Okay, so it's just a thing to hold that place. So what I'm dividing by, do I need any fillers here? No, because it goes x squared, x, and then the number, right? The constant. In this case, it was x to the fourth, x squared, x, 1. So I'm good with the x squared, x, and then 1 because they go in decreasing order. X to the fourth, x squared, they're missing an x cubed. So that's why you needed a filler. All right? So again, I always box the first one because I want my eyes to go there. 2x squared times what equals 8x to the fourth? Well, that would be 4 because 2 times 4 is 8. X squared, right? X squared times x squared is x to the fourth. Okay. And then just multiply the 4x squared to all of these terms here. So that's an 8x to the fourth minus 4x cubed plus 8x squared, right? And notice that I have a negative 4x cubed here. If I did not have that filler, then I would, like, it would be messy. Okay, so it's just holding that place for that 4x cubed. And then I am going to subtract, right? The top from the bottom. But instead of subtracting, I'm going to add it and change up all the signs. Negative turns into, or positive turns into a negative turns into a positive positive turns into a negative. Okay? And then what's left over, 8x to the fourth minus 8x to the fourth, they cancel out. 0x cubed plus 4x cubed, that's 4x cubed. 6x squared minus 8x squared, that's minus 2x squared. And then I'm going to drop 1 down, minus 3x. Okay? Because I have 3 terms here, I have 3 terms here. I have 3 terms here, therefore I need 3 terms here. Okay? So 2x squared times what? What times 2x squared equals 4x cubed? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, so I need a plus 2. Plus 2 times 2 is 4. And then I need another x. So I need another x. Okay? So that's 2x. And then 2x times 2x squared. That's 4x cubed. 2x minus x, that's minus 2x squared. 2x times 2, that's plus 4x. Okay? And then I am going to subtract, but instead of subtracting, I'm going to add and change up all the signs, right? So that's a minus, that's a plus, and then this guy is a minus. Okay? So I have 4x cubed minus 4x cubed, they just cancel out. 2x squared plus 2x squared, negative 2x squared plus 2x squared, they cancel out. Negative 3x minus 4x, that would be minus 7x. And I'm going to drop this down, plus 1. Okay? So what do I need to multiply 2x squared by to get negative 7x? There's nothing, right? Because this degree is bigger, the x squared is bigger than the x, there's nothing that you can multiply 2x squared by without getting a fraction. Okay? To get negative 7x. So your answer here would be 4x squared plus 2x plus negative 7x plus 1 over my divisor. Okay? And that's it for long division. Okay? You guys might be like saying that this is tedious, but we only did 2 problems. Wait until you guys do like 5 of them. So the next way is synthetic division, and synthetic division is a quicker way to divide. Okay? When what you're dividing by is like x minus or plus b. When your variable is a power of 1. Okay? When the variable has a degree of 1, you can use synthetic division. Okay? And it's super duper easy. All right? So let's talk about synthetic division. We're going to set up this little box, and we're going to get all the coefficients of our divisor, all right, or of the numerator. So that's a 2, negative 7, wait, x cubed, x squared. I need a filler. I need a filler between these guys because I don't have an x, right? So 0x. So I got to put that filler in there, get that coefficient, and get the constant, right? We're just making a row, okay, of all the coefficients, okay? What we are dividing by, x minus 3, I'm going to set that equal to 0. I'm going to solve for x. So x is 3. This number, I'm going to plug in here. So that's a big 3, right? Okay. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop down the 2. Just drop it down. Drop it. Drop down. Yeah. I'm going to multiply the 3 times 2, which is 6. And then here, I am going to add. Okay? So negative 7 plus 6, that's negative 1. I'm going to multiply. Multiply by 3. Right? So that's negative 3. 0, I'm going to add. Yeah, and then I multiply here by 3. I'm going to add these guys here. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. And then I'm going to multiply by 3 to get negative 9. And then add it. 5 minus 9, that's negative 4. This last box here, the last term, will be your remainder. Okay? Will be your remainder. So we have a 2, we have a negative 1, we have a 3, and a negative 4 as your remainder. Okay? So I'm going to write out the coefficients. I'm going to leave the remainder out for now. Okay? Because that's what's remaining. So here, what do these coefficients mean? Since I divided by an x cubed minus x, or divided by x, is always going to be x squared, right? So what I'm going to do here, since I'm always going to be dividing by x to the numerator, right? Dividing it by x to whatever the numerator is, I'm just going to get the highest degree and just drop it by 1. okay? Because I'm dividing always by x. So that's 2x squared, that's x, and then that's just minus 3. So your answer here is 2x squared minus x minus 3 plus negative 4 over, and then x minus 3. Okay? It's that simple. All right? Okay, let's try this one. Do I need any fillers? Let's see. X squared, x, and 7? No. 2x minus 1? No. Since this has, my denominator has a degree of 1, I can synthetically divide. So I'm going to put that box there. 2x minus 1 equals 0. And if you solve for x is going to be 1/2. But yes, it can be a fraction. Okay? Get the coefficients of 4, negative 3, and negative 7. Drop it. Multiply 1/2 times 4. That's 2. Drop it. That's negative 1. Or add, I mean. Multiply, that's negative 1/2. You know what? I don't like this one. So I'm going to stop there, and we'll do more examples in class. Okay. So that's what synthetic division is. And there are some theorems that we got to cover. The remainder theorem says that if the polynomial is divided by x minus c, and your remainder is, whatever the remainder is the value of p of c. Okay? Just know that. Therefore, if you get a remainder of 0, then c, then whatever you just plugged in is actually a root, right? For example, easy example, 25 divided by 5, we all know is 5, right? Because 25 is 0. Whenever you get a remainder of 0, that means that that number, 5, goes into this, what you just divided from, right? So if I have x squared minus 3x plus 4 divided by x plus 4, let's say, right? And I do this math, I long divide or I synthetic divide, and I get a remainder of 0. That means that x plus 4 is a factor of that, or is a root, right? That negative 4 is going to be a root of this. Okay, does that make sense? I hope it does. Okay, now here is the factor theorem. The factor theorem says if c is the root of the polynomial, then x minus c is a factor. This is the more important theorem, so I want to take some time to talk about it. So here, in this case here, f of x equals x squared minus plus 4x minus 12. Let's get the zeros. So I'm going to get 0 equals x squared plus 4x minus 12, right? I want to factor this out. Two numbers that get me a product of negative 12 and a sum of 4. 6 and 2. That has to be negative. So plus 6 minus 2 equals 0. So x plus 6 equals 0, or x minus 2 equals 0. So x equals negative 6, or x equals positive 2, right? Now look, the factor theorem says These numbers here are like your C's, okay? Over here. If C is a root, because these are your roots, then the opposite, x minus -6 or x plus 6, x minus 2 is a factor, okay? And then how do we get this? Well, we just multiply this out to get this. So we can work backwards. If I give you the root, right? Oh, here are all your zeros of the function. We can work backwards to find the equation. That's what we're doing, okay? So this is my last example, okay? Find a polynomial of degree 4 that has zeros, -3, 0, 1, 5, and the coefficient of x cubed is 6. Do not worry about this right now. Okay, don't worry about it. We'll get to it when we do everything here. Okay, that has zeros. Yeah, I have 4 zeros, right? So if x minus 3 is a root, I know that x plus 3 must be a factor. If x equals 0 is a root, then x must be a factor, right? If 1 is a root, then x minus 1 is a factor. If x plus 5 is a root, or if x equals 5 is the root, if 5 is a root, then x minus 5 is a factor. Okay? This equals y, and this is your equation in factored form. Okay, and then if you unfactor, you're going to multiply the x out. So that would be x squared plus 3x. FOIL this out. Okay, times, this would be x squared minus 6x plus 5. Okay, so you have to multiply it still, right? A binomial with a trinomial. So that's x to the 4th. X times x is x to the 4th. X times -6x is -6x cubed. X squared times 5 is plus 5x squared. And I'm going to go with the 3x here and distribute that out. Okay, so 3x times x squared, that would be plus 3x cubed. 3x times -6x, that's -18x squared. 3x times 5, that's plus 15x, right? Okay. How I got this from this is I just multiply. Use FOIL to multiply this out to get this. And then literally I did x squared. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. X squared times 6x is -6x squared or cubed. And then x squared times 5 is 5x squared. And then you're going to gather the like terms. So that's just x to the 4th. 6x cubed plus 3x cubed. That's minus 3x cubed. 5x squared minus 18x squared. That's a minus 13x squared. And then the last one is just plus 15x, right? And then the last part here, and that equals y. So this is your standard form. And it says that the coefficient of x cubed is actually 6, not -3. I got -3, but I need a 6. So what times -3 is 6? If I multiply this whole thing by a -2, right? Then we got our answer, okay? Or you can distribute out the -2 as well. All right? Hopefully, you guys got an idea of what's going on through this video. We will have next week, all of next week, to talk about it, so don't worry about it. All right? I will see you on the next one.